Hey everybody, we have a big day on our hands today because it is launch day and restock day. The only rule I ever had when I started YouTube was that I never wanted to hard sell anything. I never wanted to do, I didn't make patterns until I was like 3 years in. I didn't monetize the channel. I just wanted to I was a little spent on just making custom orders. I wanted to share the knowledge that I had, and we just started making quiet YouTube videos showing our process, and that was pretty much it. And 7 years later, one of the first comments we ever got on a YouTube video was about my little crate hammer right here. Now, this is called a crate hammer. Let's see if it'll focus on it. Because it was used to open fruit crates, turn of the century. You'd use this end to open the crate, and you would use this end to close the crate. Now, I grew up in a telecom family, which means that most of my family worked at AT&T, which is the big, or SBC Global, or New England Bell, or Atlantic Bell, or they were a monopoly at one point. They got broken up. And this is a 100-year-old hammer, but they call these pole knockers. So my dad was a lineman, and I believe my former stepdad was also a lineman. They would go along and they would use these to just knock on the poles to see if they were rotting and they needed to be replaced. And when I was 16, I would use this hammer that my stepdad had left in the shed to do everything from set headset cups on BMX bikes, which I know you're not supposed to do, but with the 2x4 it gets the job done, to hang pictures in the house that my mom couldn't reach. And when I started making leather wallets, I used this exact hammer. And when I released my first video, someone mentioned you should make your own hammer and call it the Quarter Pounder. I can't take any credit for the name. And that ruminated for a while, and I didn't really take it seriously because I never thought I'd have the chance to do it. But if you've been following along, a couple of years ago, I figured if I can get bottle hooks made, then I could probably get a hammer made. So I made up my drawing. I wanted to change some things. In leatherwork, we don't need to do any prying. The weight of this hammer is very hammer-like, whereas with leather hammers that are this size, where you're tapping stitches, I like a more center-balanced hammer because it allows you more control. You don't want something like a framing hammer where it's meant to be swung really hard and put a lot of force, because then you dent your leather. I am officially announcing, if you're watching this video, that not only is the Quarter Pounder available at the first link in the description, the solid brass blade holder that everyone has been so kindly waiting for as we perfected it is now available, and all of the stitching chisel sets, 3.38, 3.85, and 5mm, are restocked as well, along with one other thing. But we're going to go one at a time here, and I'm going to change some camera angles because I don't want this to be like a 40-minute video of me just talking at you. It's right here. The packaging was designed by Kevin at Buckle Guy. He's the engineer that helped me really fine-tune this piece, and I wanted him to have a little piece of action on the design front. And if you look up old hammer catalogs, they would have these like diagrams of the size of the hammer and everything. And I know a lot of our packaging is colorful and stuff, but my goal is any tool I release, I want the packaging to look cool. Like you might not use it for much, but you could hang it on the wall for a little bit of inspiration or a little bit of vintage touch or whatever, or you could throw it away. Maybe I just like it more because it's something that I had a hand in making. But I am going to explain to you all of the details of this hammer. And if you're not one for detailed information about about hammers, then this is probably not the video for you. When you get your hammer, this is what it's going to look like. Now, this is cast iron, and then it is sandblasted. So it's got a little bit of a texture finish. Really nice to hold on to. The reason I made it this shape, twofold. It adds a little bit more weight in the handle, which means that the balancing point is somewhere around there. So when you go to tap your stitches, right, you're not going to have too much weight behind the head of this hammer and accidentally dent something. The head comes, obviously all of the seams are ground down before everything is sandblasted. And it is cast iron, so you have to remember that. It's just the nature of the beast that there are going to be some natural inconsistencies. But when I tell you this is some of the nicest cast iron I've ever seen in my life, I have a very large collection of antique cast iron. There are cast iron parts all over that sewing machine. I have a ton of cast iron stuff over there holding hardware, etc. This is easily some of the cleanest modern cast iron I've seen. It's going to come with 2 flat heads. Now these are flat enough that if you wanted to, you could set stitches with them. But the reason that we did this was so that if you so choose, this is my personal one that I've been using. You can use one side, right here, as your rivet setting side. But then you can grind and polish. You don't even really need to grind, you just polish one side to be the side that you're using on leather. So you can see I prefer, because for some reason I always dig corners into leather and ruin things, I put a nice heavy bevel on this with just like 200 grit sandpaper, put it on the table and just kind of, you don't need a machine or anything, just do this. And it takes a little while, but you dial it in and get it perfect. And then I sand up to 400 grit, and then I just hit it with some steel wool, and that's it. You get a nice smooth polish. Mine is obviously not Beto worthy, but it does its job. It's gotten plenty of use, and you can see how you get to choose how rounded you want it on either end or both ends or whatever. I had to be like low and high. I don't have to be this close though for this one. So the solid brass blade handle. I've been working on this for 2 years. I've made 400 of them myself, not by myself, but like I've produced 400 that broke when you use them. There are plenty of you out there that have received test pieces from me and said, what do you like, what do you not like? And I just could not get it right. The ridges would split, the blade would fall out. I needed someone to help me with it. And Kevin, thank you, brother. You totally nailed it. So this is a brass blade holder. It holds number 2 X-Acto blades. Any style of number 2, if you like. I love these because they cut firmly, but they have a little give to them, so you're not going to snap blades and stuff. It comes with, I'll show you the packaging and what it comes with. Let me explain it first. So why would you want a solid brass blade handle? Well, it's mostly the weight. This is weighted. It weighs a lot more than an aluminum handle, which means it's going to be much more stable in your hand. It's going to be easier to cut through thicker leathers. It's going to be easier to control as you're tracing around a template that you've traced out onto leather. Everything about this is brass, obviously, except for the blade. The blades are removable and replaceable. Now, everybody, including myself, goes out and buys one of those brass, whatever knives that you have to keep sharp. No one ever keeps it sharp. Very few people keep it sharp. And you end up going and buying a normal knife or something like that, usually. I find 100 pack of these blades in my shop lasts me 2 years, and Buckle Guy sells 10 packs on their website now. You get 2 blades with it, so if you want to pick up some extra blades, go for it, but you don't have to go too crazy because these blades last a fairly long time. Not weeks, and not even days if you're working on a bag, but if I were making a shoulder bag, I'd probably go through 2 blades. So pennies, you always have a sharp blade, almost scalpel sharp, but not sharp enough where if you slip a little bit, you're going to totally screw up your project, which is important because I slip up a lot. So, you know, it is what it is. But the blade, the handle itself is about 4 times the weight of one of the normal aluminum number 2 X-Acto blade handles. And you can use any number 2 size blade. It doesn't have to be X-Acto brand. It can be any brand you want. This one has like, I've been using this one for months now. If you followed along in the journey, the original ones that I made were unlacquered, and they only had one split. You see how that has an X right there? They also weren't made out of the nicest brass that Buckle Guy makes. So brass is a mixture of multiple different metals. I have a special brass mixture made for my bottle hooks so that they don't break. And this is the best mixture that Buckle Guy has at their disposal. So when I say this thing is beautiful, the engraving is perfect. The handle is perfect. The one thing I did do, if you've been making things for a long time and your dominant hand has this callus, a lot of the handles on blade holders like this are like really, really, really sharp. Sorry, these. So what we did is we took the ridges and we basically took the bottom up and the top we flattened out. So you still have a nice grip, but it's a little softer. So it's much more comfortable to use for a long time. If you are cutting out lots of things, then your hands are gonna like you for it. The other thing is, you can adjust the weight. So as you can see, I'm unscrewing this, and we have everything made out of brass. The brass nut, the brass grip, and the brass body. However, the brass body is actually hollow. So you can go down to the hardware store, and you can go to their little metal section where they have the little tiny slim pieces of metal, and you can pick anything that you want to fit in there if you want more weight. Cut it to size, drop it in there, and you can make this even heavier. You can put sand in it, you can put lead shot in it, you can put pretty much anything you want in it. You can fill it with helium. Maybe it'll get lighter, and then you'll have a cool brass blade that is the weight of an aluminum blade holder. Don't actually do that. I don't know if that's gonna work, but yeah, the inside's actually hollow, so you can adjust if you want to put a thinner stick of copper in here. If it's just a little bit, you can really dial in how heavy you want this thing. I personally love the way it comes stock, again, because I designed it. It's a little bit thicker, so I kind of thought about, like when you go and get tattooed, if you've ever gotten a tattoo, the tattoo machines, they'll wrap the handle a lot, so you're holding it with a wider grip. And I have big hands, but by making the tool a little bit more girthy, if you will, it keeps your fingers from cramping up as much if you use it a lot, because you're in a nice comfortable position where you're not pinching down super, super tight. You can kind of hold it at a wider angle. It just is solid brass engraved into there. Super beautiful, nice and deep, but not too deep, so you can see it, but it's not standing out. And it comes in really cool packaging. We, meaning me, Kevin, and most importantly, Dad Hands, because she designed basically the entire outside. I designed one bar of black text and asked for a Band-Aid on the hand and sent her a ridiculous sketch, and she made magic out of it. So let's go down again and we'll check out the retail packaging. Here is our retail packaging, and I could not be more happy. I got to bring more things in here to show you guys how crazy this is starting to look, because we're just starting to look like we're in a hardware store and it's 1952 and we're picking our tools here. So obviously you all have seen these. This is the packaging for the blade holder. If you're from New England and this looks familiar to you, it is the beloved Benny's, RIP. We took a lot of inspiration from the Benny's font, and you're printed on all sides. A really dorky thing is that it's really hard to find someone that can print white on craft or white on anything else. A lot of people don't know that if you see something that's like a black cereal box with white writing, up until a couple of years ago, that was a white cereal box and all the black was ink. And now we're printing white ink. So for a little nerd like me, obviously there's a coat of white under this because this green just totally pops. And I'm not a fan of lime green. I'll say it right now, but this is just the perfect tone, and it's just cool to look at, man. You know, it's made out of recycled materials. They're all recyclable again if you want, or you can put them on a shelf and they look nice. Now, when we go inside, this is where the real magic happens. So there are stickers that come on these now. The first round, we didn't have time to put the stickers on the chisels, so everything was flying around, but everything's stuck now. I just took them off for the video. We take it out, boom. There's your packaging, fully custom. Even this tube is custom. They went out and they had like 10,000 of these things made, so it would nest perfectly next to that brass blade holder. This is a brand new one. This is what it's going to come looking like. It does have a lacquer finish on it, which means that it will wear down over time and then start to patina, but in the beginning it won't. And we did that just because we live in New England, right next to the ocean, and if we didn't lacquer these, you would get them and they would be green and just not worth the risk. If we go to our chisel sets, which are back in stock, I'm going to remind you that again. I mean, I'm not, like, the team at Buckle Guy is unbelievable. This packaging is nuts. And, like, Dad Hands with the illustrations, all I do is set the type and send her drawings that she's, like, somehow understands and makes them into what I want them to be. I'm just really proud of her. I'm proud of the team. Everybody at Buckle Guy, at the Fulfillment Center, in the main offices. I mean, this is not a me project. This is an us project. And the us is the team at Buckle Guy and Dad Hands on the iPad making magic happen. Prices, $39.50. $39.50. I forget what the set costs. $142? But the reviews on these you guys have been wonderful. I'm still using my sample set. I'm going to use these till they break, which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon. You guys have been so kind. I'm happy that these are restocked. We made enough, but we didn't make like a ton. You know what I'm saying? So these are all permanent products in the Buckle Guy line. These will become the Buckle Guy standard stock chisels. They have become so. I think that this is going to be the game changer. I think I've sent these out to probably a dozen people, and the first thing that I hear back is I can never use a regular blade holder again. The weighted blade holder is just, it'll totally change how you cut out your leather and the strain on your hands. Kevin at Buckle Guy is an absolute madman, and Dad Hands, Melissa, we were at Buckle Guy while she was here in the States, and we were looking over all of the final stuff, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Now y'all remember the little snap together set that he made. I'm gonna put this together wrong, I know I am. Y'all remember the little snap together set that he made for the chisels? That's like really, it's just acrylic, no biggie, but I mean, not no biggie. I could never design this. I said, hey, is there any way that we can make this fit the chisels and, I know it's a big ask, but the blade holders? How do we do that? And he was like, I'll do you one better. This is the coolest part. It's like old school woodworking. You put these in, and it locks it all together, and it goes from being all wiggly to no wiggles at all. So he goes, I'll do you one better. And he creates this beautiful masterpiece. See, it has, let me see here. So you have an area to put a pencil here. There's a circle here. You have a cradle to put a pencil here. So what I'm talking about is we can put a writing instrument through there. I don't even think I have enough writing instruments on me to do this demonstration. All right, we'll just put this tool here. We can put a tool right there, like that. I'm gonna turn this to the side, right? Then normally, you'd bop your little chisel goes there, chisel goes here, Chisel goes here. We are going to make bigger teeth sizes. I really want like a giant ass 20 tooth that they used to make back in like the 1900s. But I said, hey, is there any way that we can make this hold 1 or 2 or 3 of these blade holders? And our first option was to put it in the cradle, right? But you can easily just slice your finger open. So what he did was, if we look at the back here, you have 3 slots that perfectly hold. And the crazy part is, I have to take you off the tripod to show you this. The clearance for this blade holder, now it's acrylic, right? So I'm thinking, if he pulls this off out of acrylic, eventually that blade is just going to cut right through that acrylic. Well, guess what? There's holes in the acrylic that perfectly house the blade. So no matter which one you choose, that blade ain't hitting anything. And this is sticking around for a long time. So if you are looking for, this is my favorite part too. You need a pencil for, like, I'm always losing Sharpies and stuff. You just throw something through there. I'm sure he has a different use for it, and he's going to be mad at me for putting this in the video, and he's going to be like, oh, I forgot to tell you, that's for another tool. I'll update you. But you can also put a pencil right there. You can put awls in here as well. This is just, I didn't design this. I didn't ask for it. Kevin just came in one day and said, look what I made. And I said, let's sell it because I want one. And I've never even been that big of a fan of acrylic, but it's like you get to put it together, and now you can keep, you have room for a set of chisels here in one size, a set of chisels here in the other size, and a third set in another size here. And then, of course, I usually keep my single prong right up front, because the single prong on some other brands will make the tines smaller as the spacing gets smaller. I really wanted all the tines to be the same size so that we could have a universal single. And the universal single I usually keep right there. But since these are taller blades in the back, you come, you reach, you have, nope, you're not going to stab yourself, nothing. You just pick it up, and your blade's right there. When you're ready to put it back, you just drop it in, and everything is safe. If you have kids around the shop, I mean, kids can kind of find a way to do everything, but I'm putting my finger on that, and it's not touching. So everybody give Kevin a giant applause in the comment section for making such a simple idea look so elegant and work so well. Whoa, way too close. All right, I need to move. I'm moving you back. There. How about that? Like that? Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so if you're like, Eric, why this video is really long? You're right, but I've spent 2.5, 3 years trying to make these things happen, and you guys have been right alongside with me, supporting me, watching the videos, buying the patterns. A lot of people don't realize that watching the videos and buying the patterns gives me the money to have a $500 sample that needs to be made in order to make the rest of this happen. Leatherwork is good work, but it's not $500 sample work most of the time. And to see these 3 tools that I thought were really necessary finally here and affordable and approachable, and it just makes 19-year-old me really happy, and it makes 36-year-old me currently very thankful that you folks that watch everything I make and support me, that I'm able to use that, take in all of that love and just push it back out with the resources that my platform has allowed me. That's all I want to do. And that's what I'm now able to do thanks to not only Kevin, the engineer, Hugh, Christian at Buckle Guy, but the entire team at Buckle Guy. The whole warehouse staff that works overtime when we launch these things and they have to do quintuple the amount of packaging that they usually do per day. Everybody in the front office, everybody answering customer service calls, thank you guys, because this isn't a me project. This is an us project, right? I wouldn't be able to do this without you, and I wouldn't want to do it without you. And the same goes for everybody that's crazy to say this, but that's learned leather work, grown up watching my videos. I got an email the other day from someone who was 16 that said they grew up watching my videos. How crazy is that? I was like, I was 3 years older than you are when I started. So, you know, this one feels a little different, just like the Sweet 16 thing did. And I'm not going to keep talking. So I hope you guys like the tools. I hope you're able to, I hope they're accessible enough for you to afford whichever you choose, or all of them or none of them. You don't have to feel like you have to buy anything. If you have a tool set that you're comfortable with, stay with that tool set. I've preached that for years. I tried to make some tools here that didn't exist on the market, or that were at a better price point for better quality. That's the only goal, is to give back to a community that's given me so much. And so yeah, this is coming out Thursday at noon Eastern Central Time. If you see it, the tools are available at the first link in the description. And I'm at Buckle Guy vlogging the release day. And I'm going to show you what it's like, well, whatever they'll let me show you. Little behind the scenes footage. So that'll be coming up. I don't know if it's after this video or the next video. I did finally do a belt oiling, tanning update video on the new belt that I made, because a lot of you were like, you made a belt, you never told us how you're taking care of it this time, because the last one I didn't do anything to on purpose to see how long it would last. Finishing that video, and then Buckle Guy themselves is actually releasing a lot of really cool tools in October. And so it's just new stuff mania, and I want to get back into making things. So we're going to take those new tools, we're going to take these new tools, and we're about to dive into making a bunch of really cool stuff. So until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.